Imagine standing in a vast, empty field 5,000 years ago. There are no roads, no GPS, no electricity, and most importantly, no wheels. You are surrounded by nothing but grass and wind, yet you and your tribe have decided to do something that sounds completely insane. You have decided to move a rock that weighs as much as 5 full-grown elephants. And you aren't just moving it across the field, you're moving it 150 miles away, across jagged mountains, through thick, dangerous forests, and over deep, rushing rivers. This isn't a movie plot, this was the daily life of the people who built Stonehenge. To this day, Stonehenge remains the world's most frustrating and fascinating puzzle. It is a massive circle of stones in the middle of England that defies every rule of logic and engineering we know. Let's start with the sheer scale of the impossible. Stonehenge is made of two main types of stones. The big ones are called sarsens. These giants are about 13 feet high and weigh up to 30 tons each. To give you a perspective, a 30-ton rock is heavier than a Boeing 737 wing. The smaller stones, known as Bluestones, weigh about 4 tons each. Now, you might think moving a 4-ton rock is easy compared to 30 tons, but here is the catch. The Bluestones didn't come from anywhere nearby. They were sourced from the Preseli Hills in Wales, which is roughly 140 miles away from where Stonehenge stands today. Think about that for a second. Without any engines or trucks, these ancient people transported 80 of these stones across a distance that takes us 3 hours to drive today. How did they do it? Some experts suggest they used wooden rollers, creating a human-powered conveyor belt. Others believe they built massive rafts and floated the stones along the coastline. Either way, it was a project that required thousands of people working together for decades. It wasn't just construction, it was a multi-generational obsession. But why? Why go to such extreme lengths for a specific type of rock when there were plenty of perfectly good rocks right next door? This is where the psychology of the ancient mind comes in. These people weren't primitive or simple. They were master planners. They believed these specific bluestones held a sacred, perhaps even magical power. In their world, these stones were the ultimate premium material. Just like people today wait in line for hours to get the newest iPhone because of the brand and the feel, the Neolithic people were obsessed with the brand of these Welsh stones. They believed that by bringing these stones to their land, they were bringing the power of the gods with them. This was the first ever example of a high-end luxury project. It wasn't about what was easy, it was about what was right. Now, let's look at the design. Stonehenge is a mathematical masterpiece. If you look closely at the top of the stones, you will see something incredible. The horizontal stones on top are held in place by mortise and tenon joints. This is a technique where a hole is carved into one piece to fit a bump on the other. It's exactly how modern Lego bricks work or how high-end wooden furniture is made, but these people were doing it with 30-ton boulders using only stone tools. This shows a level of precision that is honestly scary. They weren't just stacking rocks, they were engineering a permanent structure that was meant to last forever. They wanted to defeat time itself. And then there is the sky clock theory. Stonehenge is perfectly aligned with the sun. If you stand in the dead center of the circle during the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the sun rises exactly over a specific rock called the heel stone. The light hits the center of the altar like a laser beam. This was their version of a supercomputer. For a society that lived and died by their crops, knowing exactly when the seasons changed was the most valuable information on Earth. The leaders who could predict the longest day of the year held all the power. They weren't just priests, they were the tech moguls of their time. They owned the data, and Stonehenge was their hardware. But as we dig deeper into the soil around Stonehenge, the story takes a darker turn. For a long time, we thought this was just a temple for the sun. But recently, archaeologists have found the remains of hundreds of people buried in and around the site. And here is the shocking part. Many of these people weren't from England. Chemical analysis of their bones shows they traveled from all over Europe, from the snowy mountains of the Alps to the warm coasts of the Mediterranean. This means that 5,000 years ago, Stonehenge was the world's first global capital. It was a massive graveyard for the elite. People were traveling thousands of miles just to be buried in the shadow of these stones. It was the ultimate status symbol. If you were buried at Stonehenge, you were a legend in the afterlife. It was the most expensive real estate on the planet. However, after 1,500 years of constant building, moving, and worshipping, something strange happened. The people just stopped. They walked away. Stonehenge was left to the elements. As the centuries passed, the true story of the builders was lost. In the Middle Ages, people were so confused by the stones that they started making up wild stories. Some believed a wizard named Merlin used magic to fly the stones from Ireland. Others were convinced that giants built the circle because no normal human could ever be that strong. Even today, some people look at Stonehenge and swear it was built by aliens. They think the stones are a landing pad for UFOs or a map of the stars that we still don't understand, while science says otherwise. The fact that people still believe in aliens shows just how much this place blows our minds. We simply cannot wrap our heads around the fact that primitive humans were actually geniuses. Today, Stonehenge is a massive business. It generates millions of dollars every year. People from every corner of the globe pay a lot of money just to stand near these rocks and take a photo. It's a bit ironic, isn't it? The ancient builders created a brand so powerful that it is still profitable 5,000 years later. They didn't have the internet or TV, but they created the most famous content in human history. The mystery is actually the secret to its success. If we solve the puzzle of Stonehenge tomorrow, the world would lose interest. But because it remains a secret, we keep coming back. We keep buying tickets, we keep making movies. The lock-in effect of Stonehenge is that the more questions it raises, the more valuable it becomes. Incidents. So what is the real lesson of Stonehenge? It's not just about rocks or history, it's about the power of the human spirit. It shows us that 5,000 years ago, humans were just like us. We wanted to be remembered, we wanted to understand the universe. We wanted to build something that would outlive our physical bodies. Whether it's a stone circle, a massive skyscraper, or a rocket ship to Mars, the drive is the same. We refuse to be small, we refuse to be forgotten. The people of Salisbury Plain moved mountains because they had a vision that was bigger than their own lives. They proved that with enough willpower and coordination, even the laws of nature could be challenged. As the sun sets today between the massive sarcens, it casts a shadow that is exactly the same as the one it cast 5 millennia ago. The world around the stones has changed completely. We have planes flying overhead and cars driving nearby, but the stones remain silent and strong. They are a mirror for our own ambition. When we look at Stonehenge, we aren't just seeing the past, we are seeing what we are capable of. It is a monument to the crazy ones who thought they could change the landscape of the earth forever. And they did. They succeeded. Stonehenge is the ultimate proof that no matter how heavy the weight or how far the distance, if the why is strong enough, the how will always be found. It is a story of humanity's first great victory over time, and it is a story that is still being written every time someone stands in that field and looks up at the giants in wonder.